Hey guys, so welcome to our tutorial that deals with how to make our tree scene. So as you saw in our demonstration earlier, here's our tree, and this is what you're going to be making, sorta, only you can, of course, you're going to do it your way. So of course we have the tree here and the tulip table inside of the room, which is in a separate video. So go ahead and open up your file, and you're going to see both artboards on one file, of course, and we're going to be concentrating on the tree here. So let's go ahead and set up first. First, go ahead and zoom in on your tree a little bit. And then what I'd like you guys to do for a little bit of a setup is go to your Appearance panel from the Window menu. So you choose Appearance, and we're going to do a little bit of setup. Once you get to your Appearance panel, just click on your flyout menu and make sure that this item here, which says New Art has Basic Appearance, make sure that's unchecked. It's checked by default on a lot of machines. Make sure that is unchecked. Okay, cool. So there you go. Now let's go ahead and set up our pencil tool. This is the tool we're going to be using to make our tree trunk. So I'm going to go ahead and focus in on that first and grab my pencil tool, which is, of course, underneath your paintbrush tool, which is shown by default usually. So once you get to your pencil tool, I'm going to have you guys do another thing here. Make sure you go to your Window menu and make sure your Control panel is up. There's where the Control panel option is. Make sure that's checked, and you will know that's checked because you'll see your Control panel up here. So your Control panel is going to be where you're going to make your adjustments. Lastly, when we draw with a pencil, you're going to be drawing with a stroke and not a fill. So notice how we have our fill and stroke here. I'm going to go ahead and make my fill as no fill, and my stroke, I'm going to go ahead and click on it to bring it to the foreground. I'm going to make that color black just to go ahead and set up. Okay, so we got that. And let's go ahead and just draw a line. Oh, before we draw a line, we need to go to our Layers panel. I want you to take a look at this. So I have a main layer for the tulip and table part of the project, and I have the tree scene. Make sure that the tree scene is the only layer that's unlocked. Keep both the template layer and the tulip and table layer locked. So go ahead and select that, and once you've done so, you'll notice you get your pencil icon so you can make a drawing. So let's go ahead and draw a line just to see what it looks like. All right, big old wowee, right? We have a 1 point little, or is it a 5 point line here. So let's do a little bit of a manipulation here. So on your Control panel, you're going to notice two drop downs. These are where your saved pencil tips or brushes can be made. And these down here are some defaults and some recently used ones as well. I'm going to click Basic here. Once I click Basic, I want you to go ahead and click on your With Profiles. These are really handy. When you click on it, you're going to notice a bunch of default With Profiles, about 6 of them. Let's go ahead and click on the one that kind of looks like a triangle. Now go ahead and make another line. You're going to notice that the line starts out thick and ends up really skinny. That's kind of cool. And we're going to play with that a little bit. But let's up our stroke thickness a little bit, guys. Let's make this from 1 point to 10 points. Now let's draw another squiggly. That's a little bit more like it. I think maybe we can go maybe to 12 or 15. Let's try that. Now we're getting somewhere. Hey, that looks good to me. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to grab my selection tool, select all my elements because I don't need those any longer. Let's select a color. Now, this is a color image that I gave you guys. You can go ahead and select a custom color by double-clicking on here, maybe going to the yellow section, making a dark color here, like a dark brown, or you can simply grab your eyedropper tool as well. I'm going to create a brown about there. There. You'll see it update. So here's what I'm going to have you do. Grabbing your pencil tool, making sure you have 15 points, making sure your width profile is at the triangle. You're going to start somewhere around the middle of the trunk. And I'm going to have you draw up towards a branch. Just watch what I do here. Now I'm using a mouse, so I don't care if I'm not exact, because I can always change my line later. So notice how it made a kind of nice taper. I'm going to start down here again. I don't care if I overlap. I don't care if I go off track. It's all okay. I'm just going to draw another one here. You can also make up your own branches, but I want you to try to see if you can somewhat get close to what I've got. Does it have to be exact? Nope. There we go. So there's my first part, and we're going to do the exact same opposite part to get down to the lower part of the tree trunk where it goes down into the root system. So I'm going to go here. Drawing with the mouse, you're going to find, takes a little practice. Okay, oops, I think I'm going to Control Z out of that one. I don't like it. So now you get a chance to do some manipulation. When you select your regular selection tool and mouse over any of these, you can, I'm going to go ahead and zoom in on my selection here. You can move this around a bit. I can rotate my line to make it more of what I like. I don't want this here, so I'm going to move this in, or just delete it. If I have a little gap, I can just elongate that a little bit. So you see how this kind of works? Here, I want to actually change the direction and the shape of this line. So I'm going to grab my direct selection tool. And you remember that if you grab your direct selection tool and you activate one anchor or just a select amount of anchors, you can move just that one part. So that's what I'm going to do to get this in here a little bit better. Going back to my brush, oops, make sure nothing is selected. Back to my brush here, I'm just going to fill in with the pencil a little bit, and there I go. Not so bad. Now let's go ahead and do our leaves. We're going to do those by using symbols. So go ahead and open up your symbols panel. And let me see if I can move myself over here. Go to your symbols library and let's find the nature symbols. Ta-da! Once you get those up, open this up, and I want you to choose a leaf. Now, if you want to choose a bug or something like that, do that another time. For now, we're just going to choose leaves, but there's several here that you can choose from. I chose this. Go ahead and choose this leaf. Click it once, and it'll show up here. Close your panel, and then we're simply going to duplicate this symbol a couple of times. So this is a pre-made piece of art here, but we're just going to make 2 more copies. Just select it, go to your flyout menu, and choose duplicate twice. There we go. So why are we doing this? It's because we're going to make a light version, a medium version, and a dark version. Let's make this one here light. Simply double click on it to get into isolation mode. There we are. We're going to go ahead and select the whole leaf using our select tool. And then using our properties panel, choose recolor from the bottom. You're going to get this handy dandy box here. I'm going to move myself over here so you can see. The easiest way to lighten the whole leaf up at once is to change the mode here. Right? So if I move it over, it says show saturation and hue on color wheel. So once you do that, you'll see all these little color bubbles, which is what this leaf is made out of. Yours might be different if you selected a different leaf. So I'm going to go ahead and choose my primary color bubble, which is large, and I'm going to drag it out towards the edge a little bit more. Notice how much lighter it got. Ta-da! Okay, that's awesome. So that's that. We're going to go back to our symbols. I'm going to go ahead and get out of isolation mode. And notice how it's lighter. Now, the medium one, of course, we're going to leave the same. This one, we're going to do the same, except darken. So double click here. Select the whole leaf. Go back to properties. Recolor. Go down here for saturation and hue. And this time you're going to pull down your primary color. Make it dark. There. All right. Going back to, actually getting out of isolation mode. Getting back to symbols. Now we have 3. Now let's create our cluster. We're going to create our cluster by going dark to light. So I'm going to pull out one of these dark symbols. Try that again. Oops. Guess maybe I'm on a wrong layer here. Yep, I'm on the wrong layer. Okay. Symbols. There we go. We're going to shrink this puppy down because this is a massive leaf. Go ahead and make this really teeny. And I'm going to go ahead and enlarge so I can see a little bit better what I'm doing. So we're going to go ahead and duplicate this a few times. Easiest way to do that is hold down the Alt key, make some duplicates, and let's randomly rotate these a little bit. Because we're going to make a little cluster of these leaves. Again, I'm holding down my Alt key. Now that I've made 4, I can just select all of them, hold down my Alt key again, and make another 4 all at once. And another time, and I can quickly make a whole bunch of these. It doesn't have to be perfect, I'm just making a random cluster, something like that. Okay, cool. So once you've got your cluster leaves, let's go ahead and throw in a couple medium ones. So I'm going to go ahead and bring out one of these. Of course, it's really big, so I'm going to go ahead and make this a lot smaller, holding down my Shift key. Only these here, guys, are going to be a little bit larger. Slightly larger, not much larger, but just a little bit. Let's make some duplicates like we did before. Do a random rotation. And maybe one more. Okay. That works. Now we'll bring out a light one. Same thing. Again. Make it a little bit smaller. These will be a little bit bigger, and we're only going to do like maybe 2 or 3 of these. All right, good enough. So now we have our little leaf cluster here. I might want to take, oh, nah, I think this will be good. Okay, so we're going to make this into a symbol. So go ahead and make sure your symbols panel is open. Draw a marquee around all these guys here and drag them into here. We're going to name this leaf cluster. Make sure dynamic is selected in case you want to edit your symbol a little bit, then everything will be updated automatically. We'll hit OK. There's our new symbol here. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this because I don't need it. Zooming back out a little bit, drag out a symbol and see if you like it. Yeah, it's not so bad. I think I have too many of these big leaves in here, but I'm going to see what it looks like first. So guys, let's go ahead and load up our symbol sprayer. The symbol sprayer will actually allow us to load our symbol into a spray can virtually and spray our symbol. So what you may need to do is click on the toolbar editor, which are the 3 dots here. And I'm not able to show you this because of my configuration with the screen, but you're going to find the spray can. Once you do, click on the spray can and drag it to your toolbar and it'll show up. I placed my spray can inside my brushes group. So if I click and hold my brushes, I see something that's called the symbol sprayer tool. Go ahead and double click on your symbol sprayer tool, and we're going to change some parameters here. This is what worked for me. You may want to play with this a little bit more on your end, but for the diameter, make this a 1/2 inch. So that's 0.5. Choose the intensity for 5. You can leave this at fixed. And where it says set symbol set density, change that to 10. That's a good starting place. Lastly, for spin, choose user defined. That way, whenever you're spraying the symbols, they will turn automatically. Sort of, and it makes it look a little bit more random. Go ahead and hit OK. Make sure that you have your symbol selected and your symbol sprayer selected, and let's move to maybe the top area here And we're going to just click and drag a little bit. See how it kind of like sprayed a big giant blob of symbols? Now we're going to just do another one. See, I'm only just doing little clicks here. Click and drag just a teeny bit, and then I let go of my mouse. And then if I see some gaps, I can kind of click and drag a little bit from there too. The whole thing seems to keep growing, which it makes me feel like maybe it's best just to kind of start from the center. And you could use longer sprays if you feel like it's working for you. The whole thing I want you to do here is just to play and see what works. And hey, if you don't like the way it's working out, all you got to do is select the area that you want to delete and delete it and do it again. So you're not really committed the way you are or were in Photoshop. Okay. So that's coming along okay. As a little tip, go to your layers panel and go ahead and hide your template layer. That's the box here. That way you can see what it really looks like. And if you see some big gaping holes, go ahead and fill them. All right. You don't have to fill every bit. Make it look the way you want it to look. That's pretty good. My leaves are actually pretty darn big, but what the heck? This is supposed to be an illustration, right? Okay, I'm going to zoom out a little bit. And going back to my example that I did previously, I made a ground and a sky, which I think you guys can figure out. We'll make the sky first. Go to our tree scene, go down to the bottom, make a new layer. Oops, put it up here, so I'm going to stick it down here in the very bottom, highlight it, and draw a box for your sky. I don't have a fill here, so I think I'm going to double click on it. Whoops, yep, and maybe do a nice light blue. Something that's, for me, I'm going to pick a nice desaturated sky blue. And draw my box. Of course, it didn't stick in my layer, so I'm going to go ahead and place it inside of my layer here. And this will be my background layer. Of course, I can just name this background. Inside of this, I can make another box. Oops, cancel. Deselect. And I'm going to make this one kind of a medium dark green. Grabbing my rectangle. Now this is something a little different here. I'm going to go ahead and just make my rectangle for my background, or for my ground, should I say. Now here's something that you haven't realized. You notice on my example, I've got this kind of wave here. So if I can move myself out of the way again, yeah. So let's do that. The way you do that, I keep getting in my own way here, is I'm going to take my my direct selection tool, and notice that I've got 4 anchors here, one in every corner. So how do you make a wave? Well, I can simply grab my pen tool. Now, a pen tool works differently than your brushes. We'll get into that soon. But I'm going to take my pen tool and I'm going to mouse over a border for my rectangle. And if I do it just right, you'll see a plus sign next to your pen icon. I'll click, and I've just added an anchor. I'll do the same over here. Now I've got 2 anchors. Grabbing my direct selection tool and my new anchor here, I can move this up. I can move this down. I can move this down if I wanted to too. And I can kind of create my own scene here. Now, who wants these kind of like points? Nobody. So I'm going to go to Properties, and I'm going to highlight by holding down my Shift key both of these anchors, and I'm going to transform them from a corner point to a smooth, rounded curve point. So I'm going to click on that, and there they go. They change. You can also highlight one of them with your direct selection tool, and grabbing a handle, you can configure this however you darn well please. You can even move your whole tree if you wanted to. All right. Now I actually made a gradient with this, so it looks a little bit more natural. But that is something that for another video. So there you go. There's your nice tree. In my second video, I'll show you how to use the calligraphy pen in order to kind of add some definition to this tree trunk as well. So we'll see you next time.